Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. Albert Einstein was at Princeton's Institute for Advanced Studies when he was asked by a graduate student, "What is there left in the world for original dissertation research?" Einstein replied, "Find out about prayer. Somebody must find out about prayer." I think that's a fascinating story. Here you have one of the world's preeminent scientists, one who has probed the secrets of the universe, a man steeped in numbers and facts. And yet he seems to be aware that beyond all of that, beyond all he knows and understands, there is prayer. Einstein seemed to believe that prayer was real, that prayer changes things, that prayer was important. It still is today. Prayer holds an important place in our lives. In fact, I might say the central place in our lives. In prayer, we draw close to God and find that God has never moved far from us. In prayer, we are able to spend time with our loving God and to be recentered on purpose and meaning for our lives. In prayer, we know God and ourselves in new ways. In prayer, we reach beyond ourselves in concern for others. In prayer, we are reshaped and reformed the way God would have us. And there's so much more. As we gather together each morning this week, I want us to look at how Jesus prayed. And perhaps as we do, we might discover and consider new things in our own life of prayer. Today, we begin with how Jesus prayed honestly. That's not quite as easy to do as it sounds, at least for us. In prayer, we don't always present ourselves as who we are, but rather as who we pretend to be. Oh, God may hear from us in prayer, but I'm not sure how often God hears from us. We put our real selves aside and present ourselves to God as we think God wants to see us, hiding the parts of us that we don't want God to see. I also suspect that many of us pray sometimes out of a sense of duty or obligation, and sometimes we just, as the Bible accuses us of, heap up empty phrases. In Amos, the prophet speaks for God, accusing the people by saying, "Your lips say the words, but your hearts are far from me." I know that's true sometimes for me, and I suspect sometimes it's true for you too. But when Jesus prayed, he was honest in his prayer. He was fully present, and he presented himself fully. He cried out to God earnestly for the things he was praying about, expressing concerns for others, and that God's will be done. And then he trusted that God had heard him. Jesus turned it over to God. Most of all, Jesus trusted himself to God without pretense or posturing or pretending to be anything other than what he was. When we present ourselves honestly before God, we come knowing that we are not who we are supposed to be. We come knowing our frailties and failings, our faults, and how we have forsaken God. We come yearning and craving to be with God, to be restored in love and grace, and to lean in trust into the warm embrace of God. I'll have to say, I think that's more at the heart of prayer than all the specific things we ask for. Those are important to God too. And yes, God wants to hear the specific cries of our hearts. But even more, I believe that the best part of prayer is as we come to God in honesty and discover a real and honest relationship with the God who loves us extravagantly. Now, frankly, this kind of prayer doesn't happen in a 2-minute burst of asking for things. This kind of prayer takes time. Time first to get yourself out of the way, and then time spent simply in relationship with God. Perhaps if we do this, we will begin to find out about prayer. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.